Hey everybody, it's Julian, the lead developer and creator of Lens Island, and to celebrate the 1.0 co-op launch happening very soon on June 19th, I thought I'd take a trip down memory lane. Steph has prepared a bunch of the old Dev Diary videos over the past 8 years, right at the start of the journey of Lens Island, and I'm going to react to a whole bunch of these videos, so I think it'd be really cool just to reminisce and sort of go back through history and pore over this old videos and see how Lens Island's changed over time. Okay, let's get into it.
The core idea that sort of created this game was I really love base building. Any games I love.
I'm sorry to pause it so quickly, but it's crazy to think Lens Island, Len himself used to actually be a little cloak person. It just happened to be that way because this cloak sort of person was one of the characters from a university project that I made.
My general idea for this game going forward is you spawn in the middle. Huge map. It's gonna take a long time to make this map. And then it's gonna be handmade. There's gonna be rivers and different biomes and blah blah blah. And then there's gonna be a whole bunch of things that randomly rotate and spawn within the map. So it's a bit of a combination of the two.
It's funny how similar the direction of Lens Island stayed over time. Because it sort of ended up this way. Like, Lens Island is a combination of hand-built and procedural. If you didn't know that, Lens Island is procedurally generated. The name of your world is actually the seed for that world, so you can recreate the exact generation of worlds of all the islands if you just have the same world name.
That's where I'm up to. If you have any ideas, like this is the whole reason I'm making these videos, is so I can collaborate with all of you watching, and we can sort of work together to make a really cool game. It's been a while since...
Just touch on that. It's really cool to see me say that too, because that has been the biggest process of Lens Island, is involving the community and having these videos. So much of the game, like over 50% of the game, has been heavily affected by the community and somewhat dictated and actually chosen by the community. I'm constantly talking on the Discord server to all the players and testers and on these YouTube videos, Steam forums, all of it. So that has very much stayed the same throughout all of development.
I guess the most obvious thing is the player. We now have an actual little guy. Honestly, he looks a little bit like me, and I think I sort of subconsciously made the character look a little bit like myself when...
Yeah, I did do that. I actually shaved my head because I couldn't be bothered getting a haircut because I'm in the middle of crunch time. So it doesn't look a lot like me now, but the old version, I guess it did. But yeah, this was the very, very first iteration of Len. This is also when I realized asset packs on the asset store exist, and I just went crazy. But then there's a big transition that happens when I first make all of the assets for Lens Island myself.
And I made it. Well, that's what I look like when I don't cut my hair for a little while. So you can see I've got some different trees now. So I just right click, bam, plays a little swinging animation, and then they fall down. And then the second the trees detect impact, they break into little chunks of wood. So that right there is a lot different to the first iteration of the game. I've set up an inventory, so if I hit I have inventory. This is probably one of the hardest things I've done of late. It's still very, very, very far from working.
The funny thing is, grid-based inventories just was super hard for me to make in the early stages. Remember when I first started making Lens Island, I was like a junior developer. I was very bad at programming. A lot of game dev tasks were quite difficult for me, and I just had to keep just like beating my head against the wall trying to make stuff work. So pretty much the whole reason why the inventory system in Lens Island is so unique and sort of organized for you is simply just because I couldn't make a simple drag drop grid-based inventory to begin with. And then halfway through developing Lens Island, I sort of got to this point where I was good enough at game development where I was like, oh, okay, I can sort of make whatever inventory system I want now. Do I want to keep the same one or change it? And then I actually realized I actually really like the more simplified sort of different version inventory that I made to begin with, and we're just going to keep it that way.
To make a game, to make a full polished game, you need to be fantastic at programming. You need to know a lot about maths and calculations, and it's hard, especially for an artist like myself. It's even harder to try and constantly switch your brain from like this artistic mindset to a mathematics programming mindset.
That's one of the biggest struggles for indie developers, is either most indie developers, like solo devs, start off as an artist and then they go, oh shit, now I need to learn programming and design, or the other way around. They start off as a programmer and they go, oh shit, now I need to learn art. And like that transition from either side is always really difficult.
This is my game. It's a top-down, RPG-ish, survival-ish, crafting, tower defense, base building game. So
that description, that was the first time I ever like said the official, I don't know, genre description of Lens Island. I think it's so funny. I think it still stands true. It's really funny seeing a video from 2019 and my like top line description of the game has actually stayed exactly the same.
Welcome to what is the starting of my game. This is going to be where you spawn. This is the little cave. Got a couple little stones in here just to show you that
I would love to see a side by side of this cave and then the cave now. But yeah, this is the very first cave of Lens Island. It's funny how similar some stuff changed. Like even just like that light stone right there was just, you know, assets that I just mushed together to make it look like that. But if you compare that to the actual real light stone in the game, they're very similar, like the end product.
everything's working together now. This is what I've really been working on the past week.
Fun fact, you may recognize this screenshot here. This is actually still in the game. So that bridge there used to be a bridge to load a different level, which was the old town. I used the same terrain for the spawn island over 8 years. And I remember it was really annoying because I keep having to export it and import it for every Unity version and had to do all this annoying stuff to like keep it consistent. Same for this area, like, so this campfire area is this is the center of the first town, Bridgewater, on Lens Island. You could see it still has like the rough layout there. Like you could see the path going to the right and the path going down.
So we can build crops just like we place foundations and put down berry bushes. And if I cycle through the day and night system here, we can actually see these grow. So we've got rolling in the game now. You can do sort of combat rolls. So yeah, if we fight this little...
So this enemy was the very first enemy we added into Lens Island. And the real funny part is we have now added this enemy into the game officially called the Void Stomper. And that enemy will be in 1.0.
Demon dude here. It's pretty fun, the PvP. I'm not gonna lie. The game's a lot.
You can see I made a bow right in the early days. And then a lot of Lens Island, like right now on Steam, there are no ranged weapons, but 1.0 multiplayer release Lens Island, there are ranged weapons. You can get bows, you can enchant them, you can upgrade them, all sorts of stuff.
That right now. And I'm just trying to flesh out the whole game as a whole. So I've worked a lot on the aesthetics, I've reworked a lot of the systems to make them more clean, more efficient. Making a logo for my game, Lens Island, it's an adventure game, you're on an island, you're building a home for yourself, you're harvesting all the stuff from the island.
Feels like once you build a logo for something, it just like solidifies it. It's like, oh, this is real, this is a real thing, that's the logo for it. And it can just be like a very satisfying moment for like a game developer or entrepreneur, or just anyone that needs a logo. So yeah, this was a special moment.
There is a lot of dark, sort of intense parts of the game. There's a lot of sort of roguelike dungeon crawler elements, but at its root, it's like a fantasy RPG sort of survival game. And it's a really like joyful, nice, pleasant experience. And I think that's something I really want to convey in the logo. I've made a total of 50 weapons and shields in the process of about a week. It took about 20 hours to make all of these. So yeah, look, it was pretty rough. It took a long time. If you're working on like a game project or anything like that, if I can give any sort of advice, it's try and mix things up from time to time, because it can get pretty like mentally draining to just work on the same thing for the whole day or a whole week or even a whole month. Like there's been times in this game where I've spent like well over a month just working on like one functionality, like just working on the inventory system or just working on the building system and absolutely nothing else. And although it's really rewarding when you finish it, it just sucks. It gets more and more depressing as you do it, because it's just, you're just doing the same thing. A quick...
Yeah, that's very true. A lot of Lens Island, a lot of game development for big scale games can end up like that. For example, I've worked on like localization and just like language stuff for like a month at a time, or like just controller support for a month, or, you know, it's not even like you're working on one feature for a month, you're working on like this one annoying, like not very fun to work on feature for a month. But yeah, this is where like I worked a lot on the systems and the programming, and I wanted to start bringing up the art. So then I spent a lot of time on all the 3D assets and stuff. And you can see the game starting to evolve visually a lot.
Quick update, by the way, is one of my old university lecturers that actually taught me how to make games. His name's Martin. He's now working on Lens Island with me. So this has been a solo project for basically the past sort of 2 years or so.
This also marks, yeah, when I officially stopped becoming a solo developer, and my old programming lecturer Martin joined the team, and we became 2 developers. If you didn't know that, yeah, Lens Island started as a solo project by me, worked on it for a few years. Then we launched Lens Island to early access with 2 developers, and then we sort of grew the team. It sort of fluctuated a bit. At the moment, there's basically just 3, sometimes 4 full-time developers working on Lens Island. So really tiny team. Usually, most of the time, a game like this would be made with like 10 or 20 people.
I got to this point where I've realized it's a bit too much for only me. So as a player, you can build anywhere on this island and do whatever you want. So you have a lot of freedom depending on people's personalities and where they like to build and explore. And the terrain and the look of the terrain changes depending on where you are. And that's something I'm really trying to get down in this island.
And yes, this was the old water in Lens Island. Water is a big part of Lens Island, and we spent a very long time. Ivan, or Cheddar, he built the water shader from scratch like himself, and it took like months. Like, he spent so long in it, us going back and forth. And I'm really, really proud of like what Ivan was able to sort of come up with the water, because it looks really pretty.
Open world games specifically often feel like it's just one giant level, and I want Lens Island to feel like it's sort of multiple areas. It almost feels like you're walking into the forest like it's a completely different level, and you go out to the coast and it feels like a completely different area in itself. I've actually started and almost finished creating the town scene. So this is going to be where you go.
The town is one of the things in Lens Island that's probably gone through the most amount of evolutions. I think there's been like 4 different towns and like town versions. We tried out one big hub town, then we tried out a different way of doing it. Where we ultimately landed is multiple towns around the world that you can upgrade. But this town was really cool. I do like miss some aspects of this town, but ultimately the setup we have now works a lot better in the game.
To buy and sell and trade and do quests and interact with all the villagers. All of this is made with all the assets that I've made for Lens Island. I think the only things that I haven't personally made from scratch are the vegetables and these vines here. And those will be replaced soon anyway. I guess I'm at a bit of a roadblock right now where I've got this sort of layout and this idea, but I'm not sure what else to do. Sorry, I was just so immersed in the game, I just couldn't stop talking about the level, and I totally forgot that I've quit my job. And realistically, the main reason that this is happening is because of all of you, because of all the amazing feedback that I'm getting. I've been spending the past few years making something that I would like.
So first 3 or so years of making Lens Island, I had a full-time job and I just worked on it at night. And then this was like a pivotal moment, basically at the start of COVID, where I quit my job, and officially, it's past 5 years, it's just been a roller coaster ever since then.
Playing, so hearing from all of you guys how much you would enjoy playing this game has really sort of solidified that idea for me, and going, okay, I've spent my time making something that can be meaningful and could be a really good game, so I'm going to take it seriously now and take a bit of a risk and dedicate 100% of my time to make this work. And I'm very, very excited to announce Lens Island is now up for wish lists on Steam. So welcome to the caves. Lens Island has a big duality in gameplay. On one half, it is a nice, pretty to look at base building, farming, action adventure game. And on the flip side, it's also a dungeon crawler, and it has a lot of sort of mystery and puzzle elements and a lot of intense sort of combat. And
that description is exactly true, by the way. I just thought it would be really cool to talk about how the dungeon as well has stayed the same in some ways. A lot of these areas have changed, but this is the very first dungeon, and for people that got keen eyes and are sort of long-term fans of Lens Island, you may notice that this entryway here, and even the bridge here and the stairs going down, that's all the same. That's actually still the same layout. The big change that happened is, at the start, Lens Island just had 1 dungeon level. It was just a very, very big dungeon level. The scale of Lens Island just sort of multiplied over time. Because it's all hand-built, it means that I've had to make so many levels, so many dungeons, so many islands. It's something that I was definitely not prepared to do in the early stages.
There will be lots of little things like this scattered throughout the game where I really want to reward exploring and people really just trying to discover new things. I think that's really important with games like this, where if you're ever standing somewhere and you go, oh, I wonder if you can get up to there, being able to actually reward that.
A bit of feedback I've heard a lot with Lens Island, that the story's a bit too weak. They wish there was more story. By the way, there's a lot more story elements coming in 1.0. I won't spoil it too much, but there's cutscenes and ancient language stuff and all sorts of really cool things that sheds a lot more light on the whole setting and story and everything behind Lens Island. But apart from that, I like to include a lot of stories via the world building in Lens Island, but they're all very subtle, so a lot of people just don't really notice them.
I actually haven't made a video since releasing the Kickstarter campaign, and we've already been funded. We're actually funded in under 8 days or so on Kickstarter, which was amazing. We're actually 50% funded within the first 24 hours, which is just absolutely nuts. And we've already hit one of our stretch goals, which is pets. So tool chests are where you...
Big shout out to everyone that supported us on Kickstarter. Lens Island would not exist without the Kickstarter backers, so thank you very, very much.
You will be able to equip all of your tools and all of your sort of like resource gathering items. Then you have a weapons rack too.
Another thing that a lot of people might not know is in the early days of Lens Island, even when it was released on Steam, is you couldn't hold any food or weapons or tools or shields or armor. Armor didn't even exist in the game, but you couldn't hold any tools or food in your backpack. You used to have to go to an armor stand or a pantry in order to equip them, and you could only equip them in your hotbar. So like redoing the backpack and making food and weapons and everything a lot more accessible, that you can change things out, made a really big difference just to make the game a lot more seamless, have a better flow, and not just so jarring.
We actually finally made it onto the top wishlist page on the Steam store, which is really exciting because now we're in the same group as all, AAA games.
And I pulled up my phone and just remember looking at the Steam stats, and then just saw that we got, it was like 20,000 wish lists and like 50,000 people downloaded the demo in the first day. Yeah,
that was a crazy moment. I think out of all the moments, like releasing Lens Island and doing all the updates and everything, that was probably the biggest, because I had no real expectations. I hadn't really thought about what Lens Island would do in sales. When I very first made Lens Island, and now all I care about is just finishing it. I don't really care about like money or any other metrics of success. Lens Island at its core has always just been, I want to create my dream game and I want to actually finish it. I want to get it done. And everything else, like, sure, is just sort of like an outcome of that. And I think when we launched the Steam Next Fest demo and it became quite popular and we got 20,000 wish lists in a day, that was the very first moment where I the idea of actually building this game and completing it one day became real. Because before that moment, I thought, I don't know if anyone will care. Maybe this game will flop and it'll just be really small and I'll have to go back to a job or something. And then that moment was the very first time where I went, wow, like people are going to actually like this. And I think, people might buy it and I might get the resources and time that I need to finish it. So that was a really cool moment. Probably the most rewarding moment of the whole experience was that part right there.
We've got some friends and family coming around to celebrate the launch. We'll have a beer and try and relax for like an hour.
I look so unhealthy. Look at the bags under my eyes and even just like my bone structure. Because like this was like a month before launch, or like this was I think was at the early access launch. But yeah, if you didn't know, like we made a documentary and everything about the early access launch of Lens Island on our old Flow Studio channel. But yeah, it really affected my health poorly. I had all sorts of heart troubles, had to go to the hospital. Yeah, Lens Island almost bloody killed me. It was a hard time. And you can see it by this way. I just look unhealthy here. But yeah, right now I'm about 4 weeks out from our official actual 1.0 launch. And I'm a lot healthier now. I am still working very hard. I work every hour of the day. But at least I'm keeping up with my fitness and my eating and considering my health a little bit more than I used to.
Hour, and then we'll come back and strap in for a long night ahead of launching this game at 2 a.m. and then staying up all night and then doing a developer live stream probably at like 4 or 5 a.m. something like that. Yeah, we'll check back in a little bit later tonight and yeah, wow, we're launching a game. Twitter post, Steam post, Kickstarter post, Discord post.
Yeah, well. Oh, yeah, awesome moment. Yeah, you only get one first game launch ever, and that was a real special one. The way I see early access launch is, yeah, it really is early access. It is a draft. It is a demo of the game. 1.0 is the actual finished game, and with that comes like the expectations too. Because like for me, 1.0 Lens Island is also a much, much bigger launch with a lot more being added to the game, and it's a lot bigger and better than what early access was. A lot of people, their 1.0 launches are just like, oh, we added in a couple new cosmetic items and this one new level or something, you know, and I'm like, that's not a 1.0. Like, that's not you finalizing your game. Like, are you kidding me? Like, 1.0 needs to be big. It should be the biggest step in content and systems than any other step in the history of the game, in my opinion. So that's what we're doing. Lens Island 1.0 will be officially taking Lens Island from single player to multiplayer. And like that in itself is crazy. We remade the entire game in multiplayer, which was really hard. But we did it. And it's super, super fun. And not only that, there's like, ranged weapons. There's like all new story to the game. There's new levels, there's new biomes, there's new enemies, there's new animals, new farming stuff, new enchantments. Like, I'm forgetting so many things because there's just like so much new. There's new dungeons, there's the final boss. Oh my god, there's like 50 new systems in the game. It's unbelievable how much stuff we've added. So yeah, that's the whole journey up until the early access launch. Maybe we'll do another one of these React videos from the early access launch to the 1.0. So maybe in a month or two from now, past 1.0, we'll see how it goes, and I'll look back and you can see that same video of me in the future. But yeah, thanks for watching. That was really fun to look at all these videos. I hope you had fun. And like I said, you probably already know by now, Lens Island's launching very soon, June 19th. Keep an eye out for it. It's multiplayer co-op launch with all sorts of other stuff too. So lots to look forward to. Have a nice day, everybody. See you in the next one.